Hello everybody and welcome back to a nice bit of slot. Today on Slotmas, we're going to go ahead and open this advent calendar because it's Christmas or the holiday season if you don't believe in joy. That's right, the woke mob has come for my Starbucks cup. And also, they've told me to open up this box. What's behind there, Swimmy? Wow. I feel like my life has changed behind. I've seen what's behind that box. Okay, you read the video title. Today is going to be a bit of a discussion, specifically around when I think HOI4 has reached its peak. Now, I don't mean specifically the peak in terms of player count or specifically when the game was, in terms of popularity, the most popular. I want to talk about specifically where I think the best point of HOI4 has ever been, either through releases or just my personal enjoyment, and at the same time talk about some of the low points for HOI4. I think for a personal peak, I think the best in terms of like how my channel's ever done, the peak we ever had on the channel for HOI4 specifically was around the time I was doing HOI4 A to Z. Now I can't just equate that to HOI4 being really good. I mean, a lot of good stuff did come out around that time, but also just in general there was a lot going on in the world. It was around the time like COVID was still kicking about, and a lot more people were sitting in watching more videos, so you can have a lot of the viewership down to that. But I think some of the best videos on the channel for a lot of people are probably around that. So when me and Bo were doing a lot of the co-op games as well for the new DLCs around that time, those used to do really well on the channel. But I don't think that was my personal peak for HOI4. I think in terms of just like, hitting the nail on the head for HOI4 in terms of my enjoyment, probably, actually, I don't know if this was the peak, but it was definitely what got me back into HOI4. If you're new around the channel, you probably don't remember, but around like 2018, I'd stopped playing HOI4 for about a whole year, which is crazy to think about now. I didn't like make any HOI videos for like a year. Maybe it's just been under a year. Whenever I think Man the Guns came out is when I came back to HOI4 full time. I think that was actually the peak my channel ever actually hit in terms of views as well, which is kind of crazy to think about. But in terms of a month, like, it was the monthly most views I ever had sometime during that when I stopped playing HOI4 fully enough, which makes sense. Play a lot of HOI4, and people that really just want to see me do other stuff, which is why I have other channels to do other stuff. Albeit the ISP channel's looking a little barren, and has been for a while. But I think my personal top, enjoyment for HOI4 definitely came with Man the Guns. I think there was a big drought in terms of HOI4 content and mods and stuff around that point, but that is when I came back, there was just so much stuff. There was like a new mod every week that I could do on the channel. There was it was like a whole bunch of good DLCs coming up. It was a great time. I had loads and loads of fun. Now, I think another peak for me definitely came when No Step Back came out as well, with the whole supply rework, the new Soviet tree. This was when Paradox really started with their new approach to focus trees as well that I really enjoyed. No Step Back in general was really damn fun. I don't think it was much as a peak for me in terms of, just really enjoying HOI4. Coming back with Man the Guns is when I felt, the urge to play HOI4 so much that I'm still only playing HOI4 on the channel. If I ever get burnt out in HOI4, by the way, you're going to know very quickly. I think it goes without saying as well, a lot of people's definitely was No Step Back. A lot of fun was had there. I still remember, I think my DLC video I made on No Step Back where I did like the co-op with Bo, maybe? That was like a really dumb and funny video. And the really stupid one we did as Denmark as well. That was, I remember, I think we were harassing Alex in that video. As usual, there are videos where we were sending those disaster saves that weren't even us. I think there was like an encirclement over in Normandy or something that the Allies did. We pretended that was us, and then we were the Norwegians as well. That was pretty funny. So those are definitely my three peaks. So HOI4 A to Z, that was really good. Man the Guns, coming back with Man the Guns, and No Step Back. In terms of overall peak for HOI4, in terms of everyone, I think out of those three, it definitely would be No Step Back. That's what got people super hyped hyped. You know, that's where Paradox really had like a good thing going. You know, everything was, you know, the DLC got positive reviews. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, they got a few more good DLCs out. A lot of people weren't happy with By Blood Alone. That's a low point. We'll get to low points in a second. But then Goddamn Rung came out, and I think, oh man, people were super hyped again for Goddamn Rung. There's so much stuff to explore. Obviously, we had the secret projects as well, which, you know, looking back on it, they were fun at the time. Don't really do as many nowadays. It makes, obviously, sense that a meta has formed around them. You just go for the ones that you really want. Don't really bother with a lot of the other ones. We had really fun German paths. Obviously, a lot of countries got reworks as well. We got like the Austrian tree, which I do not play a lot of Austria. I've realized the Hungarians as well got a bit of a rework. Hungarian tree got less of a rework than the other two, but it's definitely better than it was. I can't remember which path I actually enjoyed the most. I think the Kami tree was really bad, and it was the absolutely insane Sweden King one. That was the best. Oh, I'm losing my voice here. This is like the 4th video I've recorded today. So that was really good. Goddamn Rung, I don't think it was my personal peak of enjoyment, but man, it was good. It was a breath of fresh air into HOI4 with what they added. Yeah, I would love to say that the new DLC as well added a bunch of breath of fresh air into the game, because it did in a way with the land doctrines, but I think the problem with the new DLC for me as well is that I took November off. If you don't know, I always pre-record all of my Nostalgia November videos so that I take November off, and then I just come back to record the DLC. I did 2 videos on the DLC, and then I went back to my break. But yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in the new DLC. It was just shrouded, I think, for a lot of people by the bad things that were added, like the cold and stuff like that. But they are reworking that now. They're trying to make it work a little bit better. So I'm hoping that people can go in now, including me. I need to play so much of the DLC still with, you know, a better look. And obviously, there's just a lot of bad things in general about the DLC, including price. But we've already talked about that, so we're not going to talk about that anymore. So I think those are the peaks. You know, Goddamn Rung, I don't think it was a super peak for me. It might be for you though. I am very interested to see what your personal highest point for HOI4 has been. Which DLC brought you back, or even not a DLC, which mod brought you back? Because there is a lot of stuff. Actually, you know what? That brings something up for me. If you don't know, I played like HOI4 once when it came out, maybe a couple more times after that on the channel. All those videos are gone now for a multitude of reasons, but I played HOI4 a couple times, then I didn't come back to HOI4 for about 6 months. It was around the time, I think November, December 2016, where some mods got released. And those mods are going to be the Great War mod. That was doing really well. I did like a video on that. That was my first HOI4 video. I think got like 20k views or something like that. But then after then, it was Kaiserreich. When Kaiserreich came out for HOI4, that unironically probably launched my channel along with a few other videos. I did so much Kaiserreich on release that I still remember actually waiting and talking, and I think I got like a beta version of Kaiserreich before it was out, but I still waited until it was on the workshop. I was like, you know what, I'll make a video. I think if I didn't make that video though, I probably would not be here today. But yeah, December 2016, the Kaiserreich mod literally launched my channel. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here today. So I think that is definitely a peak, which albeit it was a very a small peak because the channel went on to do other stuff since then. But that was really hype, and I'm not talking in terms of just channel actually. Otherwise I'd just be like, oh yeah, artillery only. That was really good. It wasn't really good, was it? It was just a thing that happened on the channel. But in terms of playing HOI4, Kaiserreich was definitely a huge peak. Got me into the game way more. Before then I was just doing like random like U4 videos, whatever videos I could think of actually. I didn't care about YouTube. But December 2016 Kaiserreich, and then it went on to like playing the modern day mod a whole bunch and all those other things. That's what I enjoy actually. Early HOI4 definitely had its charm and its draw to it. It did get a bit stale very quickly, which is again why we took that big break in like 2018. We didn't play any HOI4, but that was another peak. Again, you know, it was mostly, I guess, a peak because it played, it made me, big on YouTube and stuff, but, a personal enjoyment as well. Playing Kaiserreich for the first time in HOI4. I played a lot of it in Darkest Hour. Was just great. Now let's talk about the lows. So I think a big low for me came after the release of Waking the Tiger. That is towards like the end. I need to go look at the dates actually. Waking the Tiger, I'm going to put it up on screen right now. Waking the Tiger released here. Man the Guns released here. So it was just a whole year between those DLCs where nothing was added. And that is why I very quickly got bored of HOI4 around that time. And I just started, I played a lot of Victoria 2, a lot of Tropico, a lot of City Builder, stuff like that. Whole bunch of Total Wars, which was really a fun time on the channel. And I just got bored at HOI4. So Waking the Tiger came out, it was pretty good, but then nothing. Literal radio silence for a whole year. Now Paradox do still do like one big expansion a year. Obviously we got a Damn Wrong, and then we got this one, the No Surrender, No Compromise. But this was before Paradox were doing the in-between DLCs. I think it was just a very slow time as well. Like all the HOI4 mods, all the big ones had come out around that time, at least at the time. That obviously more would approach and become available later on. So nothing was really releasing, and it was just a very lull period for me in HOI4 history. Yeah, that was definitely a lull, big period where HOI4 I didn't really want to play it, didn't have much to do in it, and I'm actually interested to see, actually, if you've been HOI4 the whole time, you've been into HOI4 the whole time, do you agree with that? What's that, like, what happened in that period between 2018 and 2019 between those DLCs? Because I can't remember. It wasn't a lot, clearly. And for me, that was definitely the first low point for HOI4. I'm trying to think of some others, actually. You know what? I think By Blood Alone might have been a bit of a dip. Not a huge one, but a little one, because when we got that DLC, it was so broken in so many ways. And that was pre-release. Like, when we got it pre-release, it was honestly the most atrocious state of any DLC game or anything I've ever gotten from Paradox. It was that bad. The peace deal system was just like super broken. I can't remember anything else. There was like issues where if you had won a civil war, you would still be counted in a civil war, and your units would like not get annexed back into you. Just really weird stuff. It was mostly around the peace deal system that had just broken. There was just a lot really, really broken pre-release with that DLC, and it did release as well, even still broken, like super damn broken. I can't remember a lot of the complaints, but there was tons of typos as well in the focuses, and just so much broke that it really ruined the DLC for a lot of people. I still really like the DLC now that it works and isn't broken. I think the Italian focus tree is really damn good. But man, when I got the DLC early access, and I was like, oh my god, this thing is like, you're gonna have to wait, bro. You're gonna have to wait, my guys. This ain't ready to launch. And they still launch it broken anyway. So that's when I stopped giving feedback. So yeah, between Waking the Tiger and Man the Guns, first lull period, first low point for me, and then By Blood Alone. I think people would probably agree with me that By Blood Alone was also a really bad time in terms of general low points for HOI4 right there, because oh man, that was atrocious. I think another low point that is going to be a given for a lot of people, and I really don't even have to say it, was definitely Graveyard of Empires. Oh shucks, this had been, I think, one of the most disastrous launches in terms of feedback for Paradox on that DLC, because it was just so bad. And I was like a big defender of the South American DLC. Sure, overpriced, and not a lot of content that people wanted. Didn't even cover all of South America, but I had so much fun with all those focus trees. They're overpowered for a region where you can afford to be overpowered until they nerf like everything in that DLC. But a lot of it's still overpowered. Like, it makes sense if you want to have some crazy power fantasies that you could do it in South America, because there's just not a lot of like important stuff going on down there. You can have the super awesome battle royale overpowered stats, because it, for the most part, it only really puts you on par with everyone else, which is good. I like that DLC, but Graveyard of Empires, it did not fulfill that same same purpose that they had with this DLC, which it was the exact same type of DLC. I think they're just called country packs, where they're supposed to fill in the blanks essentially for a region, and they're not done by the main Paradox team. But yeah, people were not happy about this DLC, and I can't blame them. It was so much of it, again, was just super damn broken. The Indian tree is obviously the best of the bunch, but I just really can't see myself ever being like, oh man, I want to hop on an Iran game, or I want to hop on an Afghanistan game, because even though they fixed a little bit of it, it's still just bad. You know, actually, here's another one to throw in the works. A lot of people have probably forgotten about this, but another super low point for the game for me, and maybe for you guys if you remember, was Battle for the Bosphorus. That was definitely a point where I remember people being very upset and angry, specifically around the focus trees of like Turkey and Greece. They were really, I mean, they still are super disappointed. The Greek one specifically, I have come around to it. You can do some fun stuff as Greece, but there's just not a lot in it. There's not a lot of replayability in it, and I mean, if you just look at the amount of stuff that's like in the Turkish focus tree, which albeit, you know, is a little bit deceptive, but then you look at the Greek one and everything just ends too soon. Put it this way, you can reform like the Byzantines as Greece, and it's right there, reviving double-headed dragon, and then that's it. That's all you get. They just ran out of content immediately. I mean, yeah, that's my big gripe with the Greek tree. It ends too soon. It ends way, way too soon. Out of all these countries that were added, it was Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey in that DLC. Bulgaria is definitely my favorite. It's got the most fun of those focus trees. Turkey's, I don't even have to talk about it. It just takes way too long. Still broken, unplayable meh, in my opinion. And I'm sure there are plenty of mods that have fixed this or made it just better. Yeah, that's a bit of a niche low, though. I think another low, actually, or I don't even know if it's a low. It's kind of like a forgotten low, was Arms Against Tyranny. Half the damn time, I forget that this was even a DLC. I wouldn't necessarily call it a low point because I don't think it was a low point, but it was definitely a very forgotten piece of HOI4 content, in my opinion, because I don't ever want to really play in Scandinavia. There are some, you know, fun paths specifically for Sweden. Denmark's probably like the most boring, in my opinion. Actually, it's not that surprising. Denmark is super boring. Norway, you know, after Denmark, they're also probably, you know, pretty forgettable. And Finland, I just, you know, there aren't nations I really ever want to play. Sweden's got the most interesting path, which isn't surprising if you know Paradoxes. They're a Swedish company. But yeah, other than that, what did that DLC add? It was just the arms international market, right? That again is a feature I very rarely use. Yeah, it's just a forgotten, you know, not so much a low point, but just not a high point either. Just a forget it's there, road to nowhere. Yeah, Graveyard of Empire is definitely a super low point. This DLC is probably a low point as well. No compromise for no surrender, no compromise or whatever. That's probably a big one for people. A lot of people were super hyped, and was just really the spark went out super damn quick, just because people were so upset with like the coal rework and stuff like that in the Navy. Some people really don't like the naval rework. I don't specifically think it's a low point for me. I do like what's in it so far. I hope they do rework a whole bunch of stuff, specifically those 70-day focuses for Japan, Paradox, please, for the love of God. But yeah, I think those are all the high and low points for me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was really like a good time in HOI4 for me. I mean, 2017 was a good point as well. There are a lot of dumb mods that came out in that year. Not so much mods that had much longevity in them, but there were a lot of dumb mods always coming out in 2017, 2018. And yeah, that's all I can really think of in terms of low and high points for HOI4, in my opinion. If we're talking about player count and stuff like that, HOI4 is only growing in players, and the player count is always going up as the game gets on and on and on. So I don't think we can really think about it like that. I think another quick low point was obviously HOI4 on release didn't have a lot in it. I didn't come back to HOI4. So if you look at the HOI4 release date right here, boom. Then you look at November 2016, boom, that's when I started doing HOI4 pretty much full time. There's a big gap, so maybe that was a low point too, because yeah, there just wasn't too much for me to do and enjoy. There wasn't any big DLCs that brought me in. We had Together for Victory, which was that even between those? I think it was between those, wasn't it? So this is the release date for Together for Victory. It was like December 15th 2016 or something like that. I don't know if that's true. I don't remember that. Maybe I think that was true actually. Damn, there was just nothing in HOI4 for like 6 months. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I guess that was definitely a low point too, considering I did not play the game at all. Literally, I played the game on release. I was like, all right, cool, done with this, and then did not come back until like Kaiserreich came out. Actually, no, the Great War. The Great War was the first one I came back for, and then those videos did well, and then I did Kaiserreich, and those videos did really well, and then at some point I played the Lazy Town mod, and then, you know, the rest is history. But yeah, I think those are definitely the high points for HOI4, both for me and for a lot of other people. No Step Back, definitely up there. Goddamn Rung, definitely up there. Low points, I mean, I don't have to repeat myself. Graveyard of Empires. But I'm interested. I want to know everyone's opinion down below. I'm going to go read the comments after this video is up because, again, I'm super interested to see both when you guys came into the game. That is going to be a very important point if you've actually been here since the beginning. And then also, what's your high and your low point? So those are the 3 points I want you to reply with in the comments down below. And let's see where we all meet up, shall we? Also, I want to hear those hot takes, all right? If you say Goddamn Rung is your lowest point in the game, I mean, oh! Gonna get a lot of down dudes, I imagine.